Hi, I'm Leonie Fennell from Ireland, and I'm here to tell you about my son Shane. Firstly, I cannot tell you how excited I am to be here today in the same room as Peter Gøtzsche and Robert Whittaker. There are actually quite a number of my heroes present here today. There is Mr. and Mrs. Antidepresivos, who have done Trojan work in documenting SSRI-induced deaths in the UK, and my fellow speakers whose stories you will read in Peter's book, including my Irish friends Stephanie and John. I have so much respect for you all, and you should know that it makes this life we now lead just that little bit easier. I am here to tell you about Shane. Shane was my handsome, happy, friendly and very caring son. He was my eldest child and had younger siblings that he loved to distraction. They had a mutual admiration society going on. Every weekend, Shane would come home from college to take his brothers to the beach or to the cinema. He would wind them up, tiddle them, annoy them, love them, sing inappropriate songs to them, and teach them random skills like the distracting hand. This is where he would distract them with one hand and then he would tiddle them or slap them with the other, leaving them in hysterics. He would then leave for college, leaving me to calm them down and clean up the mess he left behind. In 2009, Shane broke up with his long-term girlfriend, Jen. He was 22 years old and was a final year student of theology and Irish. While parting ways was his idea, very soon afterwards, Shane regretted breaking up. At this stage, his girlfriend had moved on and was seeing someone new. Shane found that difficult, but to take his mind off his love life, he decided to do some travelling. He went to stay with a cousin in Thailand and then on to Australia, but he missed his family and friends too much and came home early. I then persuaded him to see a doctor, thinking that maybe he might be suffering from more than just heartache. I thought it could be this depression that seemed so prevalent everywhere. I even have a vague recollection of discussing with him that it might be a chemical thing. I had totally bought into the idiocy that pharmaceutical companies and psychiatry has pushed on us, the chemical imbalance fraud, although I wasn't to discover that till later. Although Shane had little previous history with doctors, he agreed to go. This proved to be the worst decision of our lives. For his heartache, Shane was prescribed a month's supply of Lumbex citalopram, also known as Cipramil and Celexa, and began taking it as prescribed. In Ireland and other countries, the patient information leaflet states, "Tell your doctor immediately or contact the nearest hospital if you have distressing thoughts or experiences during the treatment." Bearing that in mind, on day 3 of taking citalopram, Shane phoned the doctor to say he didn't think that the drug suited him, that he had a swollen tongue and the drug was making him feel weird. He wrote on Facebook that he thought he had the flu. Despite what the patient information leaflet says, the doctor told Shane to keep taking the drug, to persevere with the treatment. Instead of improving, he began to get very restless and agitated. He couldn't keep still, was insistent on constantly moving, which was very unlike him. I later found out that this was most likely drug-induced akathisia. On day 5 of taking citalopram, Shane took the remaining 23 pills altogether in an attempted overdose. He awoke the following day and phoned me. I picked him up and brought him home. He looked and acted like a person suffering from Parkinson's disease. His mouth was shaking and he seemed really awkward on his feet, just like I am now. I insisted that he went to see another doctor, this time our family doctor. Shane explained everything to the doctor, and again, despite what it says on the patient information leaflet, she prescribed the same drug again, albeit in a lower dose. It never occurred to me that the treatment could harm him, and I still assumed the doctor knew best. Shane took this lower dose as prescribed, but got more and more restless. On day 17 of taking citalopram, Shane, my handsome, kind, gentle son, went to the supermarket and bought a block of knives. He then went to where Jen and her new boyfriend were staying and attacked them both, killing the young man with a single stab wound. Jen and this young man's brother were also injured but survived. Shane then went into the garden and stabbed himself 19 times, ending his own life in the worst conceivable way. So that was the sum total of Shane's experience with an antidepressant. 17 days, then death. 3 doctors interacted with Shane in those 17 days, and not one diagnosed him with anything other than heartache. yet all saw no issue with prescribing him mind-altering drugs meant for moderate to severe depression. What followed Shane's death was equally baffling to our family. Lundbeck, the maker of citalopram, in a statement to the Irish media, denied that citalopram could cause suicide or violence. The Irish Psychiatric College collectively said the drugs are safe. Don't be ridiculous, woman, your son was at fault, not the drug. They gave statements and wrote letters in the media denying that these drugs were dangerous. What was more telling, they involved themselves before, during and after Shane's inquest. One of Ireland's leading psychiatrists, Patricia Casey, who incidentally has been a paid speaker for Lundbeck for almost a decade, turned up with her legal team uninvited at Shane's inquest, offering her services to the coroner. She said she was there on behalf of Irish psychiatry. Knowing without a shadow of doubt that the drug had caused this mammoth shift in Shane's personality, I had shamelessly prostrated myself at the mercy of world-leading psychopharmacologist and international prescription drug expert, Professor David Healy. After considerable begging on my part, he eventually agreed to do a report on Shane's case and appear as expert witness to the coroner's court, free of charge, I might add. Professor Healy testified that these particular antidepressants can cause a person to become both suicidal and homicidal. The jury then rejected a suicide verdict and returned an open verdict. Following the inquest, we were all stunned when outside the coroner's court, Professor Casey expressed her displeasure at the verdict to the waiting media. She said there were aspects of the evidence which the college took issue with. I wondered who she was representing that day, Irish Psychiatry or Lundbeck. The president of the college then made another statement to the Irish media defending SSRIs. Incidentally, through a Freedom of Information request, I found out that this internal college email was also sent from within the college to Lundbeck. Yet despite the efforts of Irish Psychiatry, the verdict still stands. It seems to me that the Irish College of Psychiatry used their own version of the distracting hand that day and muddied the waters just enough to curtail the media's reporting of the dangers of SSRI antidepressants. Even Shane might have been impressed. So there you have it. Have I, as Shane's mum, done enough to warn others? Have we all, as outspoken advocates for informed consent, made any impact on future generations? Have we screamed enough that the chemical imbalance that we so believed in is just plain fraud? More often than not, when I'm quoted in the Irish media on the dangers of antidepressants, I'm referred to as killer's mother says. If that is what it takes to warn others that these drugs are highly dangerous and not the harmless little sadness neutralizers that the drug companies portray, then I'll reluctantly accept this title. Not for any noble attempt at martyrdom, as Tony will tell you, I'm no Mother Teresa, but for a young man who was known by his tutors as An Creemore, Irish for the big heart, and for another young man who should also be alive today. People ask me what I could have done differently. I would never, ever, ever have brought my son to the doctor. If I hadn't, both young men would be alive today. Furthermore, I now research any drug given to my children, prescribed or over the counter. We deserve to know all possible outcomes. Informed consent is a basic human right. And remember, as Shane would have said, always beware of the distracting hand. Thank you so much.